Yay!
Greetings and welcome, dear family and honored guests. I am overwhelmed with this 95th tribute, and I hope all of you will enjoy it as much as I am. Yes, I'm 95, as I said before. Here I am again, my hair a little grayer, my body a little slower, my bones a little creakier, one leg on temporary sabbatical. As for my hearing, I hear what I want to hear. But maybe, just maybe, I'm a little wiser. Can you all hear me? Otherwise, I am mobile and grateful to be able to lead and greet all of you. It took 95 years to put this together. It's nice to be here. At my age, it's nice to be anywhere. It's been a long, rocky, unpaved road from Cambridge, Massachusetts to Tennessee. I have no regrets as long as these birthdays keep coming. And I'm able to celebrate these amongst dear family and friends. My birthdays are becoming habit for me. When I'm asked about my age and I reply, they usually shrug off with, "Oh, no." Therefore, I am going to introduce myself as a non-genarian. As you know, getting older creates all kinds of problems. In my case, I still am able to find my car in the parking lot, along with my keys. Judaism teaches us that the good and the bad go hand in hand. Casey Stengel was reported to have said that the trick is growing up without growing old. My years have been filled with treasured memories. Some I would like to share with you. It would take many, many hours here if I went into detail, but I'm going to add one or two that I remember you'd like. Many of you already know my history, shared in previous birthday parties. It all began on August 30th in the year 1918 in the town of Cambridge, Massachusetts. I came into the world weighing nearly 12 pounds. My mother quickly enrolled me in Weight Watchers. Mom and Dad had immigrated from Europe and met in Cambridge. They knew nothing about emails, and texting, and iPads and all that stuff. They just used smoke signals and polylines. They learned English by studying the ads in the yellow pages and Sears Roebuck catalog. We were surrounded by wonderful neighbors, one Greek and one Italian, and boy did we eat. I grew up in Cambridge along with my sister Ethel, who is 92. Unfortunately, she's not with us tonight. She couldn't make the trip. And my kid brother was the other sibling. He had other duties. As a kid, I parted with my tonsils and later on developed a very serious case of emphysema. The reason I survived was because of my mother's chicken soup. I attended local schools and had the privilege of going to Cambridge High and Latin School. Matt Damon went there too, but he must have been a year or two behind me. I fell in love with my teacher, Miss Sullivan. Miss Sullivan was a great girl, and she only wanted me to learn the Gettysburg Address. Miss Sullivan, where are you? I still have some homework to turn in. God bless her. Later, and by chance, I got a job with the local newspaper called the Cambridge Sentinel. The publisher, Cornelius J. McGillicuddy, not Jewish, was real kind to me and taught me how to report local happenings. Graduating high school, I became interested in journalism and advertising. Thus, my entry to the Fourth Estate, and by luck was offered an internship with the weekly newspaper in Cambridge. After a while, with more experience under my belt, I heard about a new weekly newspaper across the river in Boston called the Back Bay Ledger. With a recommendation in hand, I went to see the publisher. The publisher was a celebrated Boston criminal lawyer of all things, as well as being a publisher of a weekly newspaper. We hit it off, and he hired me for the advertising department, selling advertising space to local merchants. As time passed, he promoted me to advertising manager to handle the department, a position I held until the outbreak of World War II. I volunteered and gained new employment in places like Fort Dix, Fort Belvoir, Westover Air Force Base, and they even threw me in for a free cruise to the UK in August of 1942, to a base nestled in a tiny hamlet called Matching Green. I never did figure out what it matched. They just told me I was there to help save the king. Once the war ended, I was shipped back to the States for reassignment to the Pacific. I landed in New York City, where I met my late wife, and gave serious thought to staying in New York City. The war ended, marriage ensued. My in-laws wanted me to be in their real estate complex, collecting rent and overseeing their maintenance department. This was not my cup of tea, nor was living in New York City. Anyone here from New York? I'm sorry. Here I was, married with a newborn baby girl, and had no financial means. That little baby girl called Betty is here with us tonight. Betty, hold your hand up, honey. Then lightning struck. In New York one day in 1948, I came across an article in the Business Journal entitled, "The South Will Rise Again." It held my attention, especially the part about the abundance of labor, TVA power, and the fact that numerous towns and cities had community grants to give industries a final financial boost. Sounded great. My 1937 packet was raring to go. A few weeks later, and much to the bitter disappointment of my in-laws and wife, I embarked to destinations unknown to me. My in-laws thought I had lost my senses, leaving my family to a destination they referred to as the wilderness. I reminded them of Columbus. I toured Kentucky and Virginia and crossed the border in Tennessee, where I saw a sign which said Union City, all of which leads up to how and why I am here today. All because of running out of gas. I am still being bombarded with that familiar question. Where are you from and why did you come here, etc., etc. When I explained that it all relates to my encounter at a gas station, filling up my 37 packet in West Tennessee in early 1948, a tank of gas that struck oil. If that had not happened, who knows where I would be now. That fill-up was a good investment and a good omen, and it changed my whole life. Frankly, at that point, I was in a mostly confused state and almost ready to turn back east. I hadn't had a decent meal in weeks. I slept in my car, not the Marriott. And I, for one, was destitute, discouraged, dismayed, and ready to call it quits and head back north. I sensed even my packet automobile was tired of the trip. Even I was running out of gas. I barely coasted into an Esso gas station in downtown Union City. I was greeted by a kindly man, one eye on me and the other on my Massachusetts license tag. I realized that he kept looking at my license tag because it was expired. Howdy, what can I do for you, young fellow? The gas station owner asked. I later found out his name was HP. I'm out of gas. Then he engaged me in small talk, plus numerous third degrees. Lots of friendly talk, and no one seemed to be in a hurry. Our casual talk soon took a more serious note. Are you visiting here or thinking of settling here? I really am exploring some sort of business opportunity, perhaps a small sewing venture. He replied, good idea. There's a town down the road a piece called Trimble, almost 20 miles down from here. They have nothing. Farmers' wives would make good hands. Why don't you stay over there at our brand new hotel and then visit them in the morning? Sounds good, worth a shot, I imagine. Places I stopped here before had seemed so unfriendly, and I was encouraged with this encounter. If HP seemed very sincere and helpful, I had found a friend. The next morning, I ventured into a local coffee shop near the gas station and got a southern welcome. Before I could order, a waitress brought me over a stack of hot biscuits and coffee. I felt absent-minded because I didn't remember ordering anything. Passing through, mister? Yes, the gas station proprietor told me about the town of Trimble, and that's where I'm headed. I know the town, have kinfolks around here. If you don't mind, I will call and tell them you are coming. Not having a cell phone in those days, I agreed. Patrons who were seated in the cafe overheard the conversation. All greeted me and had kind words about my 37 packet automobile. The waitress got off the phone and announced that the mayor and a delegation would welcome me in. Let's see now. Be patient. You all come down, so I came, and so I landed in Trumbull, Tennessee. Located on a railroad, population about 400. Downtown amazed me. I thought it was a setting for a Wild West movie. They were hitching posts for the horses. The town hall wasn't hard to find, and neither was the hardware store, the grocery store, and the post office, all within walking distance. That's all the buildings there were. A delegation of town fathers was on hand to greet me and shake my hand. My nervous hand, I might add. Have a seat, Mr. Roseman. Being younger than they, I told them to call me Phil. They like that. Mr. Phil, our friends in Union City tell us you would like to settle to these parts and start an industry, possibly in the sewing field. As you were driving here, you probably noticed we only have farming. Nothing for our women to do except for household chores and making their own clothes, etc. I listened and took notes. We talked and talked and talked. If you can organize a sewing industry, we have the financial resources to fund it. We can also float a bond issue for a large building. Are you able to swing this? My head began to swirl, and I became nervous, to say the least. It was too much to comprehend that this title of entrepreneur bestowed upon me. After showing me around town, we took about 5 minutes. We returned. One of the participants was a very kind man who fired several questions at me. Little did I know at that time that that man was to be elected congressman years later. It was my friend. Another man who remained silent all during the meeting suddenly came out verbally with both barrels. Mr. Phil, you waltzed in here from nowhere. You want us to open our coffers for an industry you don't know much about. Am I correct? Yes, I replied, but everything has its beginning. When I returned to New York, my late wife had a hissy fix. Now that is something I learned here in the South. My wife we were brought up in an upscale New York neighborhood, ain't going to live on a farm. She said, you know, I attended 3 colleges, and I practiced law, and I played the piano and so forth. I ain't going to raise chickens. Well, while in New York, I attempted to do my homework, but soon found out I was a babe in the commercial world, floating around the garment district, seeking ideas. Because I had to go back with some sort of plan. I had the least idea what I was going to back for, if at all. By chance, I met a well-known manufacturer of outerwear. He was very impressed with my story, and he realized the potential to increase his production of a major brand. He owned no plants, just found out his requirements on a contract basis. We became very allied, and he agreed to supporting me technically and financially, pending, of course, a visit to Tennessee to see for himself. Yes, we met in Tennessee, and he was taken. The ball started to roll. To show good faith, he brought a very generous amount of money, and it purchased a bond issue. The town fathers breathed easier, knowing I had acquired sudden experience and outside money to boot. I got the green light. They let us use the town building for temporary headquarters and the training of additional help. We installed about 10 sewing machines, which the Singer Company loaned us and sent down for practice, and told them my story and established a relationship with a veterans priority. I contacted the Japanese firm of YKK, and they agreed to give me an open line of credit when I went into production. A local architect worked with us for the design of the plant. Construction started immediately. We included the latest type of General Electric air conditioning, a rarity in 1948 in a plant. The factory opening was easy. Getting it going was not. We were very efficient in manufacturing rejects in seconds. When we got most of the bugs out and went into production, our main customer was the Belk stores. You recognize the name? B-E-L-K? That was our first customer. They let us practice on their goods. My wife agreed to settle in Union City, a community which welcomed us with open arms. Trimble even supplied a babysitter for our child Betty. By 1955, we needed expansion and were received by Hickman, Kentucky, which booked us a desirable facility. Work came from everywhere. One customer, Levi Strauss, was happy with our quality and flooded us with denim jacket orders. However, there was a snag. They preferred that besides the sewing of the garment, that we install complete washing and dyeing facilities, which we couldn't because of environmental issues involved with the city sewers. So we had to establish a much larger third plant in Ridgely, Tennessee, near Reelfoot Lake. Orders continued to flow in. Department stores, military orders, the Gap stores, London Ford, McGregor, windbreakers for Goodyear plants, Texaco, Ford, and others. In addition, we were awarded the license to manufacture jackets under the Fruit of the Loom label, which gave us more national prominence. My late wife, not being encouraged to practice law in Union City, being a woman, played an active part in our company as CFO. She didn't have to raise chickens after all. No chickens. Instead, later on in her 70s, she enrolled at the University of Tennessee in Martin and pursued a degree of B.S. in public administration to augment her other degrees. At her graduation, President Joe Johnson of the UT system came all the way from Knoxville. He personally handed her the diploma when her name was called. He introduced her as the youngest of the class. The applause was deafening. And so it went on. In 1993, we decided to sell our operation, an unwise move to the wrong buyer. We employed several hundred employees who were very unhappy with our decision, as were many of our friends. In retrospect, running out of gas 45 years wasn't an inconvenience after all. We decided to take up residence in Nashville. We made many new friends. Sadness entered our lives here when Nettie passed away. Now the latest census report on our family. At this time, it is my privilege to introduce my family members. We have with us my 3 children, Betty, Hal, and Barry. Betty came in from Notre Dame. She was married to a renowned rabbi. Hal, a doctor, has 4 children, Alex, Julia, James, and Gabby. Hal's wife, Elizabeth, is office and life manager Larry is a professor of graphic design in Atlanta. And Len and Gwen, my brother and sister-in-law, could not come. They're all smiles these days. Their daughter, Nancy, has been named president of Dickinson College. Academic excellence runs deep in our family. I was president of my first grade. Also here are my stepdaughter Lydia and her husband Eric, both veterinarians, and their daughter Zoe, my stepson Andrew, an attorney, and his friend Arlene from Puerto Rico, my stepson-in-law John, an Atlanta executive, with 2 sets of twins, Jack, Phoebe, Kate, and Tommy, along with John's mother, Andrea, who came all the way from Ohio. Thank you, Eddie. Appreciate that. And of course, last but not least, my dear Jean, with whom I share my life. Jean is a retired school teacher, historian, and author. She holds the honor and title to being the most frequent visitor to the library. Tennessee has been good to me, and I always try to be good to Tennessee. My blood type is O for orange. Through the years, I was given many honors and memorabilia that I cherish. I will never forget one special event. Some of you may recall hearing about this. It was a recognition dinner attended by state and county dignitaries. When dinner came to be served, I was treated to a special country cuisine of roast raccoon. I almost choked. They thought it was kosher because the raccoon washes its hands before it eats. After that cuisine, I was inducted with membership in the Royal Order of the Raccoon. Now in closing, I could probably give you 95 reasons how proud and elated I am for you all to show up and be with me on this special day. I recently read about a 94-year-old guy who just ran a marathon. He was asked, "Are you going to run anymore?" "Oh yeah, I've got to keep going until I get old." I too feel that way, and I hope to see you all at my 100th. Yeah. Put that on your calendar. I understand this is quite a special birthday for you, and I want to add my personal congratulations to all those you have received from your family and friends. I'm sorry I can't be with you personally to help blow out these candles and pick up a few pearls of wisdom from you. But as you celebrate this significant milestone, please accept my best wishes for a healthy life, good friends, and much happiness in the years to come. Warm regards, Bill Richardson, former governor of the state of New Mexico. By the way, he told me if he were to be elected president, he was going to make me